What's going on, everybody? I'm going to be doing some painting, and that's what we're going to be working on today. I'm going to do a Star Destroyer first, and from there, I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing after all that. But we're going to be using some Citadel paints. I've got my double paint rack back here. This is actually a broken token rack. Holds brushes, holds paints, and it's just I'm using a piece of wood here. And I've also got Palpatine. I've already based Palpatine in just black. I think I'll start off with him. The reason is I've been doing a lot of Legion terrain, and I have some effects, and I had these lightning effects that were from it's like a Bandai lightning kit. I'm just thinking it'll look really cool if I set it up on a stand like it's coming from him. So picked up him. He's the only one of the new Imperial Assault stuff that I've picked up yet. But yeah, I haven't done any mini painting in a while. I'm going to start off with some ceramic white. I want his face and his hands to be white. Got my little cup of water over here. And oh yeah, this one's got to be shaken up good. Problem with these paints is they sometimes kind of get all hard and they separate, so you got to mix them up real good. And I like to do that here in my little easel. I don't want a whole lot of white because I don't really have that much to do on this guy. And I'm going to also, you know what, actually, before I do the white, it makes more sense to do the black first. Even though he's already black, I'm going to do like a black coat over top of him, and I gotta find, I want to mix a little blue in there, so I'm going to mix some of this McCraggy blue. I don't know what the heck, I don't know what kind they are. Just dark blue. I mix colors a lot. Some people don't like to mix colors that much. I love it because it's just cheaper than buying 10,000 colors. So Abaddon black is kind of like the default black, and then I'm mixing a little bit of blue in with this. Oh man, that one's totally dried up. That one's dead. Well, I guess we're not using that blue. I'm gonna use a lighter blue then. Let's see. Okay. That's much too light. We need to add way more black to that to get it to work the way I want it to. Okay. That's pretty dark. Make it a little wetter. It's just, we don't want it to be completely black. What's going on, everybody who's joining me and watching us? We're just doing the Emperor right now. And it's pretty much the same, but better consistency. The big problem with just doing the primer, it doesn't exactly hit everything. And like you see right here, like there's some parts it just doesn't hit. And so you can't just count on that being your black. Also, it kind of flakes off over time. So, and if you are nervous about doing like Legion painting when that comes out, you really don't need to be, because it's a great hobby. It's really fun and it's so easy, especially on a model like this. You prime it, you put a base coat on, and then a dry brush, and then do some highlights, and you're done. That's all you got to do. And you can do more advanced stuff after that if you want. You don't have to. I'm just trying to get the whole thing, really. And the thing is, like, especially when you're going in layers, you can totally screw up. You don't have to be as good as Sarastro, although it's awesome if you get to that level. I love that dude. But yep. Okay, so now we've got a black with a little hints of blue in there, and I'm gonna let that dry. That's gonna take a little while. I'll come back to him later. Whoa, sorry for bumping the camera, kicking things over here. Rinse my brush really good, and we're gonna get started on. Gosh, I don't know which ship I should do first. That's gonna be up to you guys. This is the somebody asked if this is Legion or IA. This is IA. The Palpatine just came out for Imperial Assault. Palpatine, Ahsoka, and Maul with the latest set. I've only picked up Palpatine so far. so I'm just working on him right now. I use IA miniatures in my Legion terrain to kind of help me get scale right, and sometimes I set them up and take pictures, and I wanted to be able to use Palpatine shooting this lightning effects. These are Bandai lightning effects, so that's kind of why Palpatine was the first one I picked up. So let's see. While he's drying, we've got two rebel ships that I want to do. And one of the rules that I have is I only paint usually. I'm sorry, I always leave at least one original. So I have two of all the rebel ships, at least two of them. So I'm gonna do a regular Home One style. Actually, no, let's do a Liberty first. Let's do a Liberty. What do you guys think? Liberty, Star Destroyer. I see a vote for the Star Destroyer first. All right, well, let's do a Star Destroyer first, unless there's any other votes for an MC. So Star Destroyer, I'm gonna do some straight lines. Most of my Imperial ships that I have painted, I've used red and I've used tape. So I'm gonna set this guy off the base here, and I'm gonna cut some tape. And the way I do this is this is just basic blue painter's masking tape. You can use regular masking tape if you want. I kind of just set some lines and we go. I have been kind of doing lines this way and that way. I think that's kind of a standard thing. A lot of people do stuff like that. I'm going to cut a couple of pieces and then I'm going to cut them further, and we're just going to do a couple of lines. So I'll cut them pretty long. So I've got a couple of these. Let's see, I got one there. I got one here, and I'm going to cut those a little smaller than they actually are. And this tape. The idea is I'll do something like that, and then another one kind of next to it to create a line. But well, let's start that way. Let's start that way. So I'm going to use some of the natural lines. There's already kind of like a natural line here of the architecture. So I think I'm going to go with that. I'm going to put one piece like kind of covering that natural line. All right. And all the way to the back. And you want to press it down real good. And I may have to trim this right here because I don't want to interfere too much with the tip, because I do want red at the tip. Okay, there we go. So we got some blue on there just like that. All right, is this side big enough? This is big enough. Okay. So I'm going to kind of do the same thing. I'm going to just clip an angle on this one. I can always come back and do it. If this tape is so sticky, it's not so sticky. It's not going to leave residue on any of your ships, but it's forgiving. So if you put it down and need to pick it back up, you're fine. It'll still be sticky. No, I need to go down further. All right, so one about there, and about there. Okay, thereabouts. Something's not right, not quite there, so we can adjust it a little bit. Okay. All right, I think we're mostly where we need to be in here. Oh, I'm rubbing up against Palp. Stay over there, Palp. Okay. But no, we don't have to stop here. In fact, you may want some more on the outside. Because like the idea here is now I can put another piece like right here, and it'll only get what now this isn't straight, so I don't want I don't want to use that. Let's see, checking out the comments here. I've never played Armada. How do you play? Well, Andrew Lee, I have a lot of videos that actually are talking about how you play Armada. You should check those out sometime. All right, for this one, I'm going to cut this one long and I'm going to cut it in half. If you're trying to save on your stuff, you know that the outside edges are perfectly flat, so you can kind of cut through the middle. I'm using kitchen shears right now. Oh my goodness, it's rolling up on me. All right. Okay, so I got 2 equal length pieces. I'm going to use these for the outside. Oops, I got a part stuck on there because I want this stripe to be a little thinner, I think. Or the thing is too, you can make it get wider on the outside and more narrow on the inside, which actually that might be pretty cool. If we go from like right there to there. Only problem is it's tricky to make it symmetrical on the other side if you do that, which I'm okay with. Okay. And this one. All right. I'm gonna do some more live stuff in the future with like Q&A and lists and stuff like that, or feedback or just advice. We got regionals coming up for a lot of FFG games, so that's kind of cool. I just saw the first Armada regionals in my area. Well, not in my area, but like in Georgia posted. I'm like, I don't know if I want to drive all the way to Georgia. It's not the easiest trip for Central Florida guy like me. If I were single, it'd be easier. Okay, so we got our basic taping done. I may want to actually come back and do another line up the middle as well, but I don't know if I'll do that. I might not. I might actually add some different stuff because I normally just do lines, but I could add some red lighting in here or do like a dry brush of red and maybe just do like some shading over the whole thing too. That might be kind of cool without having to feel like it's too much. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to get my Feast on Red if this one hasn't dried out on me. That's one thing I hate about these, maintaining paints is that they tend to dry out. I used to keep them in my garage, so some of them I've wasted a lot. Okay, so sometimes I mix a little bit of water in here just because they do get kind of thick and dry over time. And they're expensive, man. It's expensive. You got to take care of your paints, man. All right. So now one of the tricks is I'm just basically going to put this down, but you don't want it to put it on really wet. So you want to put it on dry because the problem is if the wetter you put it, the more it's going to seep underneath the paint. And the worst thing in the world is when you peel up your paint and you've got these great lines and then this big bubbles and stuff where it leaked underneath, and it ruins all your hard work. So the better thing to do here, and actually I'm going to fix this one before I do it because that's too far in. That's better. So it's better for basically you want it to be drier. Oh, we got a kid out of bed. Got a kid out of bed. Little emergency. Hold on, I'll be right back. What are you doing, buddy? What's the matter? All right. we're coming back. Mommy's got my little one. Okay, sorry about that. Let's get back to it. Let's get back to it. I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Okay. Okay, so the kids are. He says, you know, I usually don't start these until after everybody's in bed, but every once in a while, that's life. So I've got my red paint. It's a little thin, so I'm just going to dry it off in the next one here. Get it a little bit drier, and I can test it on the paint and make sure it's not like bleeding too much. And that's pretty good. So we're going to start here, and we're just going to go over. And it's better for it to be a little dry because worst case scenario, you just have to go over it again. That's not such a big deal, you know. It's easier to do a second coat when your paint is already down than to peel your paint up and realize you screwed everything up and you have to come up with some kind of clever way to fix it. This part isn't down that much over here. Okay. And this is really simple stuff. You're just laying down some paint, painting within the lines. You can go outside of the lines. You don't have to stay within the lines because you got your paint protecting your ship. It can be tricky sometimes to figure out where you want those lines to be. But, you know, that's why you leave one Star Destroyer at least pristine. You know, and I know I'm not going to repaint the Chimera when that comes out. That would be a sin to repaint that thing. Okay. All right, let's start on this side. This will match some of my other Imperial ships, so the next time I fly them all together, I can do the whole Blood Stripe squad. And that doesn't feel too out of character, so I don't mind. Like when I started doing X-Wing stuff, I made, like my first repaint was a TIE Fighter that I made sparkly purple. And so I just started doing things that were completely non-canon. And it was fine, you know, you can do that. I just then went back and kind of regretted it because it ended up not being, I don't know, not being the same, what I really kind of had hoped for. All right. My taping isn't perfect right here because a little piece is popping through, but I think I think that's going to be good enough. And so this was, I went a little light here, so I'm just going over it one more time. I think I will put another wash on this once I'm all done as well to kind of seep in and fill in some of this and make the paint a little bit less bright, a little bit more dark. Okay, I'm gonna leave that dry for a few minutes. I mean, it's gonna dry really quick because it is mostly dry already. But yes, we're gonna go back to Palpatine while this is drying. He is looking good now. So I'm gonna do his skin and stuff last, I think, because I want to put a dry brush. Oh, we got some different textures and stuff in there too, but I'm not gonna do that much detail. I'm not gonna go super crazy. I'm just gonna get like a dark gray to do a dry brush. And I use like a big fatter kind of wispier brush that I can't do fine details with. And I'm gonna take this gray, and this one is Eshin gray. And I kind of thin it out a little bit. I take like a paper towel or a cloth, dry it out a little bit there, and we just take it and we go over nice and easy. Sometimes you want it to be more dry than that, but since I'm going real casual with this guy, I don't mind if it's not that dry because I could always go back over it with black and do it again. It's like there's not like there wouldn't be a whole lot of work lost. But yeah, this is, I mean, when robes are really, really easy to paint and make look decent with like minimal effort. Like Tusken Raiders are like the same way. The hardest part I have when I do these though is I always put my finger on top because I'm always holding them and I'm always putting my finger on top. Okay, and so now granted I'm not in super ultra high res right here, but yeah, you can see the detail there. It's just there's a little bit of detail, not a whole lot. I mean, it's black robes, so there's only so much you can do. Uh, but you know, it's just hitting those raised areas and bringing out some of that detail. We could even do some white or whatever. I know I probably will do when I'm all done with him. I'll come back and add some, like, maybe some blue highlighting around the fingers and stuff, and I might do a little bit of lighting type stuff, but we'll see. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to the Star Destroyer now. I feel like I can go ahead and start taking this off, and we're gonna peel off our tape here. Oh, yes, yes, it's coming along nicely. Coming along, look at that. Now, first thing is, this isn't perfect. This side is a little thicker than that side, but that's okay. That's okay. I don't mind. I'm flawed. You know what? The Empire went with the lowest bidder for the paint job contractor on that one. You know, but that's certainly all right. All right. So Sabine's paint jobs do make all of the paint jobs canon. You're right, Darren. But yep, yep, yep. Okay, let's see what else. I want to do a little bit more on this guy. I think I'm going to, oh, you know, one of the things that we can do, we can get a finer brush. This is a nice touch. We can get a finer brush and do like a couple of extra panels. And they don't even have to necessarily be red, but a red panel or two would be pretty slick. But we could do some other colors as well. I generally like to keep them in the kind of gray or black scale, but we have, let's see what other we've got. Some other grays. We got this dark gray we just used for the Emperor. We got that one open already. This one, Warp Fiend gray, is almost got like a hint of purple in it. Yes, I'm gonna paint some the Star Wars version of Bob Ross. We're gonna paint some happy little panels, some happy little scars, and some happy little turbo lasers. Screamer pink. This one's kind of like a really too bright, not quite appropriate. But yeah, let's see. I'm gonna adjust the angle here just a little bit. And try and get a little closer. And all right. So next up, the panels. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some more red. I'm gonna do a couple of red panels. We'll do a little bit of everything. What the heck? Get some red in there because we are gonna come back. And I'm gonna use this finer brush here. And one of the nice things about these panels is because it's real easy to kind of just follow the lines that are already there. And you can go over ones that already exist, or you can just add some of your own. Happy little trees. My wife is watching the stream right now and she's telling me that I'm blurry, but I don't know how to fix that unless I want to buy $1,000 camera. But yeah, I'm just going to add a couple of panels, make it stand out a little bit more without being a little bit too crazy. And then we'll put a wash over it at the end. And we'll make it a pretty watered down wash. But all right. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And I think after the wash, I will go ahead and do maybe a very, very faint dry brush of red in some of the raised areas, just to make it glow a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not, but that's kind of the idea. All right. Well, and that went on pretty thin, so that's actually going to dry very shortly. I kind of like that. I think I want to do like one or two more panels though. I like how they're kind of spaced out and they're not too close to each other. I'm thinking some down here, like this one. I like those rhombuses. Mm-hmm. Oh no, I hit that piece. Oh well. Not perfect. That's what happens when you do it freehand. You run that risk of just making a little mistake here and there. Oh, this is a big one. We're going to do this one here. This is a big area. If a larger area, you could almost justify putting some more tape down, but I'm feeling like I'm going to push my luck. Okay. I use really cheap brushes though, because I don't, and I really should upgrade to more expensive brushes, because they start to fray after only a couple of uses. But it's like I get the pack that's like $5 and you get like 8 brushes in one pack. Okay. All right, that's enough. That's enough panels. It's not too much to be like super red. But it's one red panel for every killed rebel ship, so that's pretty cool. And that includes pirates too, because the Empire kills more than just rebels. All right. Let's see. You're gonna start a GoFundMe to get me a Bob Ross wig? That would be great. All right. So this is gonna dry. I'm gonna get out my known oil and going to get a bigger brush. I'm gonna run. Oh, this is about the biggest one I've got. Okay, this will work. And basically, I'm just going to get a whole bunch of known oil in here, and I'm going to add a whole bunch of water to it because the known oil is much too dark to use straight up. And I just use the brush to scoop kind of water into my pooling here. Problem is the Star Destroyers are so big that I have a feeling it's going to be it's going to get splotchy, so I may run a paper towel over it to see. Smaller ships is easier to just paint on some wash. The larger ships, yeah. So it's going to go on like that. So it's going to make the stripe darker. It's going to make all of that red paint feel darker. Normally you would wait longer before your paint, for like the paint you put on to dry, but like I put it on so thin that it's already dried. Yeah, I should have used a bigger brush. All right. So we got about half right there. I need to get some more. Some more known oil in there. Problem is I also probably need to do the bottom, and I have a hard time justifying painting the bottom of a ship that you're never going to look at. But it's that one time somebody does look at it and says, how come you didn't do the bottom? And I just can't be like, because I'm lazy. Canadian supporters in the house. What's going on, Calandra D? Thanks for tuning in. It's nice to see Canadians are so friendly. Yeah. All right. So we're going to do all of this, and I'll probably run the a paper towel over it just to make sure it doesn't dry with like, sometimes it'll well up. If doing this much of an area, it tends to just be a little splotchy when it dries, and I don't want to necessarily have splotchies on my nice red striped Star Destroyer. So we're going to do all of this. But I also don't want it to look too dark either. I just really wanted the dark to make the red kind of blend in a little more and to seep into the lines. Poutine. Oh man, I want some poutine now. Okay, so next up, because I'm not going to do the bottom until the top dries, and that for a wash it will take a little bit longer. I'm going to figure out which Moncal ship to do next. How many Canadian people are watching right now? Does Minnesotans count as Canadians? That's a good question. I can't answer that. I'm far too close to any borders. I'm sorry, far too far from any borders. This is one of those times where I need to pull my stand out and put this thing up on it because I'm going to get wash all over my hands. All right. Okay. We're almost done with this guy. No, we don't want to forget the bridge. That's the best part. Okay. Almost done. It takes a long time. See, the rebels, the next rebel ship, I don't think I'm going to do a wash on the rebel ships. They can be brighter, especially those Mon Calamari ships, because they just came out of the ocean, right? They were ocean liners, so they don't need to. They don't need to be so dark and dreary. Although it'd be kind of cool to do one that was like swampy. All right, so now I'm just going to take this and kind of run it over. The thing. Let's see this. Just don't want it to. Oh, that looks cool. I wet my paper towel just a little bit. That's looking really cool. I've never wet the paper towel before wiping off the wash before. It's just a little bit damp, but it's getting some of the parts off of the panels, and it's giving the panels like weathering. Wow, I don't know if you guys could see that too much. That's freaking. I'm digging it, man. Let's see. It's hard to judge though, because after it dries, sometimes it looks totally different. Okay, that's enough for now. All right, we're gonna put this guy in the background and let him dry. And let's start with this Liberty. No, I want to do a home one. Do a home one. Okay. Now the Rebels we can go a little bit more crazy with the colors. Like I'd like to do yellow and orange. on a lot of my rebels, so I'm going to pull out some yellow and orange. And let's see, what else do we want to do? I could start with just those. Maybe I'll add one color I don't normally do. Oh, you know what? I'm going to add this Gene Stealer purple. I haven't used this one yet. This would be a fun one to use. Okay, so I think on this one, there's a couple of different things I could do. I'm not going to do like the whole thing. I'm going to keep it pretty much still white. But I'm going to do certain panels. I'm going to do kind of like panel work, like I was doing on the other one. But I could do some of the pods like a whole color, or engine. No, the engines need to be black. The docking bays would be kind of cool to lighten them up. I could do purple in the docking bays there. That would be fun. Let's do that. Let's try that out first, see how it works. I'm going to use this fine brush, water it down just a little bit. All right. And the good thing about these Armada ships is you don't have to. Oh, that was really wet. It got all around the outside. I don't mind if it gets around the outside a little bit. Okay. Yeah, you don't have to prime them or anything first. And that's awesome. I'm going around here just to kind of give it a glow. Because I might take some white and put it in there later on too. I'm kind of liking that color. Makes me want to do more with it. Well, we can do a couple of panels up here. I'm just going to be hitting. I'm going to do kind of like checkerboarded with this. I'll do a couple of panels maybe every 2 inches or so. Or maybe I'll just do it all purple. Wow, that would be weird. I don't think I could do it all purple. Let's see. Okay. All right. The funny thing is, like, when you do very subtle paint jobs and you just do the lines and like the parts that people already expect to be painted, a lot of times it goes unnoticed. Like in casual games, people won't even realize that you've painted your ship, and sometimes until like the end of the game, they're like, "Wait a second, that looks different than mine?" And you can say, "Yep." I'm going to take this guy off here to work on some more panels. We'll do one here. Do a couple purple ones. This is quite intimidating. So yeah, some people are saying they'd love to learn how to paint, and it's intimidating. Don't be afraid. Start with some cheap miniatures too. That's one of the best ways to start. There's like all kinds of games that you can find on clearance at game stores that have tons of minis that are cheap games. Like Sedition Wars used to be one of those like Cool Mini or Not games that had a ton of minis in it, and they were great for painting. And it was like on clearance for like $20 because it just, I don't know why. I guess it wasn't well received. I got a game like that called Myth a long time ago that had a bunch of minis in it. It was only like $40, but painted everything. Never even played the game. Just painted it all, and I think I sold it. Yeah, I'm liking all the purple throughout. This is going to be like an Easter ship, I think. Do some on the other side right here. All right. Now the Liberty, I think I'm going to take a different approach with. I might do the Liberty like all one color. That would be cool. That would be really cool. Okay, I'm almost done with the purple. And then I'm going to add some different colors. Okay, time to add some new color. Let's see, I think we'll do the yellow next. There's already a little bit of yellow on here. All right, let's see. Oh, this is all right. Good. This is a thin yellow, so this one might run a little bit, but that's okay. We'll just go over it again if we have to. Well, this is bright. This is real bright. It's tough to. This brush is not that fine either, so I have to be very careful. Well, not that careful. If I screw up, I'll just paint over it with a different color. There's so much. There's such a blending of various different colors that like there's a whole lot of forgiveness with something like this too. Oh, I'm gonna do some of the engines. The engine panel. The small little panels are so easy because even if you go off a little bit, it just sinks into the crack and it doesn't like usually hit the next panel. So they're very forgiving. And right there. I'll do some on the other side now too. So I did mostly on this side. All right. Hmm. Oh, I'll just get this raised area here. That's cool. All right. And I think that's going to do it for the yellow. That's bright. That's a bright yellow. Let's put some orange on there now. Again, I'm not doing anything too crazy. I think, because I still want it to be recognizable as a Star Wars ship. I still want it to work in thematic games. Oh, my orange is really watered down. All right. Oh, I just have to mix it up a little more. All right, it's not too bad. We can do it. I'm not gonna do a whole lot of orange. Let me try on the side first. It's another thing too is if you're really not sure, you can always start off on the bottom of the ship because if you screw up the bottom, nobody's gonna see it. Right, that orange is bright too. This is, where is it? Right here. Let's do this one. It's going to be a lot of patches. This is a ship that's been blown apart and patched back together by various Easter ships. It's filled with chocolate Mon Calamari. Just some happy little panels. I'm not going to do too much more on this one. I'm actually anxious to get started on the Liberty. I'm going to think, I don't know what would be the best color to go with to do a full redoing of the Liberty. Okay, so I think that's where I'm going to stop. So basically we have our ship. We just added more colors to it, and it'll at least look different when next to the regular home one. And most of that's already dry as well. All right, I'm going to set that over here. I'm going to pull up this Liberty, and I am going to grab something to drink before we start while I figure out what color to run on this thing. All right. All right, we're back. I am really not 100% sure on this guy, but I think I'm going to go with a purple for this dude. I think that's the plan. I think it'll be fun. So the idea here is I'm going to mix some, like a dark purple, almost making a wash. And this is Xerxes purple. I'm going to put a whole bunch of water in here. I'm going to make it really, really wet. I'm going to start on the bottom in case this looks super terrible. No, that's not too terrible. That's not too bad. Because then I can still come back and do the panels. And actually it's keeping a lot of the colors from that it had already. So you can still see some of the patch, the panel, you know, the variations in color, even though they have like a purple hue over them. You can still see. I just want to be careful because I don't want to redo the engines. I just love the way the blue is in there just perfectly. I don't want to have to mess that up and go back and redo them. So I'm going to leave the engines with care. The other reason I went with purple is I have a lighter purple shade as well. And I can come back after I'm all done with this and do a dry brush of the lighter purple and bring out some of the highlights. And I can do an even further dry brush of like pink or with some white mixed in to really add some depth to all these raised portions. Because I love just doing a base coat and multiple types of dry brush. So purple side, regular side. I always thought this was too dark. And kind of always wanted to repaint one, but I kind of had originally planned to make it white. I just think white is less forgiving. And going with darker colors is a lot more forgiving for me. Because like when you go white, you kind of have to do like a full, you know what, I can put it up on here right now. You have to kind of go with a full white. Otherwise, you know, you're going to see everything else underneath. And then if you do it a full white, then you have to paint every panel and you have to include every detail. And then you got to come back and do like a black wash to go, to fill in the lines again. And then the black wash on, if you don't do it just right, you don't make it thin enough, it's gonna, and you don't get your mixture just right. It can. I've tried it before and it's been difficult. All right. Well, this will be fun. So this guy is going to be, he's really, really wet, so I can't really mess with him too much right now. Because it's going to take a while for him to dry. And like he'll be dry enough to, to maybe handle in a little while, but I don't know if he'll be dry enough for me to start putting a dry brush over, because once that different paint meshes with it, it's going to just resaturate. Oh, I got to do the bottom a little bit more, at least for this part near the engines. This is such a cool looking ship. Oh, I can't, if you were excited about the next wave of ships, man, I can't wait to get my hands on that MC-75 that they have coming out for Armada. And I really hope they do more huge ships in X-Wing too. I love just the big nasty miniatures. Same thing with like Legion. I hope they do an ATST. I'm sorry, an AT-AT. We're already pretty sure an ATST is coming, but yeah. Okay, so there it is. Let's go back. Let's see. Let's put them up there next to each other. Let's go back to this Star Destroyer. I think the Star Destroyer is dry enough now. And let's just checking out some of the comments here. I think it's called curb stomped, by the way, although that's a really graphic term. But I think that is what you guys are talking about. Okay. So here's how it dried. We did get some kind of smearing there a little bit, but I am going to take a little bit more of a dry brush of that red and try to add a little bit more in certain areas. We're going to see how it comes out. As a matter of fact, with a different red, we've got Evil Sun's Scarlet. It's a kind of a different shade of red. Put some in here. And I want this one to be really light. So I'm taking, I got paint all over my brush, but I'm rubbing it off, and I use a white paper towel so I can tell when there's barely any left on the brush. And so you see, as I'm rubbing it over, we're getting just a little bit. This is not bad. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it's not bad. Need a little more. Okay. And again, I missed my rule, as I should have started on the bottom of the ship instead of the top. I want to get the bridge. Oh, see, the bridge was nice. Brought out all that detail on the bridge. And maybe the interior lights of this ship just are all red, and that's what we're seeing, is we're seeing all the lights, like the glow, right? Happy little red lights. Okay, I don't know. I don't know if I'm crazy about how that came out, but it's not too bad. It's easily fixed. I can always just go back over it with some other colors. But the stripe looks good. The line work right there is, you know, and you can do this pretty easily. All you need is some Scotch tape. Last thing I'm going to do for tonight. Well, I might go back to that Moncal. One of the last things I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the Palp over here. I need to get some white. And white. Use our fine brush here. And we're going to get his hands and his face. We tried this before. And you just want to be real careful. Here is a time I don't want to get the black. And his hands should have a little bit of yellow-ish on them too. But, you know, you start with the lighter, you start with the white and you come back and add a little bit of yellow shading around the fingernails and stuff like that if you want. I plan on actually adding blue shading because he, you know, he shoots lightning, right? I might do a little yellow around his eyes. And if you screw up like I just did and get a little bit of white on the cloak, then all you have to do is go back over it with some black and it'll be no problem. Yeah. Not much to it. I mean, that's all you really need to do for Palp, and any more you want to add is easy. But I will try to find some black here and go back over that one little part because I don't want that one part haunting me. All right. Oh. Okay, there we go. A little bit better. And I don't know. Do I have a fine? I do. I have a super fine brush right here. Look at that one. That one's cool. All right. We're gonna do his eyes. I'm gonna go Averland Sunset. It's a darker yellow. And it's a little bit more of a rotten kind of yellow. And I'm just, since they're recessed so much, it makes it so much easier to get in there. Yeah, I don't know if you can pick that up, but they're a little yellow now. All right, I think we got time for one more thing. I'm going to pull this guy over. He might be dry enough to try a little bit of the dry brushing with. I want to see how well that comes out. And I'm going to go with the Gene Stealer Purple, but I'm going to mix some white in with it because I want it to be lighter than normal. So we got a really nice bright kind of light purple here. All right, flip over my thing here. The brush kind of saturated. Get most of that off. All right, now I'm going to follow my rule here. Start on the bottom. I'm not even seeing any of this. Did I make this too wet? Is it? There we go. There we go. Now it's showing up. I think I made it too dry rather, so nothing was coming across. Okay. So I think this is just kind of hitting some of the raised parts a little bit. Looks pretty decent. I guess the reason it's not showing up so much is that I didn't make my purple that dark, so or that it was thin, so you know you're not really seeing, because you're still seeing so much of what's underneath, and that's okay with me. I do like the I like this effect though. It's making all of these little pieces really stand out. This is starting to look really nice actually. I'll still add more detail eventually once all that dries, but I'm pretty pleased with that. I think that'll look pretty cool on the battlefield. I think so. So that's gonna do it, guys. I don't know. I don't know the next like the next Q&A I'm gonna do. But I'm just trying to do different stuff and go live a little bit more. And I hope you guys hope you guys enjoyed watching. Hope it was entertaining and hopefully a little bit informative. We'll wind everything up here. This is what we did. Palp with his lightning. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching, and have an awesome day. Tune in next time. Make sure you're subscribed and click the little bell for alerts. See ya.